heart of America, nestled among the hills of Virginia, lies a town that to the world may seem unassuming, but in the pages of history will forever be remembered for one reason: its sacrifice. In the autumn of 1940, a company of young men, brothers, cousins, friends, answered the call to serve. They joined Company A of the 116th Infantry Regiment, 29th Division, a unit that would soon become a symbol of courage and sacrifice. They were the Bedford Boys. June 6, 1944, the beaches of Normandy. The largest amphibious invasion in history was underway. Thousands of Allied soldiers stormed the shore under a relentless barrage of enemy fire. The world would come to know this day as D-Day. But for Bedford, it was a day of unspeakable loss. Out of the 34 young men from this quiet town, nearly half of them would never return. In that single brutal moment, Bedford lost more of its sons per capita than any other American town. Just 30 minutes from the campus of Liberty University, Bedford became a symbol of sacrifice, a reflection of untold stories that defined a generation. As the sun rises over the Blue Ridge Mountains, the D-Day Memorial stands as a testament to those who never returned. The memorial captures the magnitude of that day, its courage, its loss, and its unwavering hope. For this memorial is not just a tribute to those who died, but a promise that their sacrifice will never be forgotten.
To Flames Central Game Day, brought to you by Earthright Mid-Atlantic, solar and energy efficiency. Well, thrilled to have you back on top of the mountain. Rhett McGibbon here alongside Pat Kelly. A new face, but an old name that you might remember. DJ Jordan, great to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back here. You had to bring back the old guy.
That's
I get
right.
it.
We got to get you back in here. Thanksgiving. It's going to be a terrific show today. A senior day on the mountain, obviously an emotional one for a lot of Flames. DJ, hey, they have the internet back on your senior day?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm so old. Like, there are interns and staff people who weren't alive when I played the last time in the late 90s. So you had to bring some of that perspective back. Even looking to this season, which we're going to talk about later, about the success we enjoyed. The majority of football players who are old like me, we didn't experience nothing like this.
Yeah.
And so
it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. This senior day, though, Pat, in some ways a little bit of a different feel around it, because if you go back to the independent days, you kind of had your bowl game wrapped up by this point. In a lot of ways, what did this day matter? And last year, even, you took on UMass, and you thought, okay, this is going to be a smoke show. Flames did exactly that, putting up 49 on UMass. But today, there's a lot at stake.
Yeah, the entire season's on the line, right? I mean, you get some luck last week with Louisiana Tech beating Western Kentucky. You got everything to play for. You know, you were thinking you were going to need a lot of help to have a chance at that conference championship. You got the help. So in addition to senior day, you know, you got a lot of memories going on. You got to come out here and take care of business.
And what a whirlwind of a season. I mean, we began the season where people like Nick Saban were predicting Liberty might even be in the playoffs this year. That's how high of a high we were at the time. Then you go through the season and then you lose to Kennesaw State, a winless team, and then you lose to Jacksonville State. You almost think that the season is completely over. But it's amazing that they're here at this point and they're playing for something.
Yeah, still vying for the Conference USA Championship are the Flames. Let's take a look at the seniors that are graduating, being recognized today on field throughout the game. Jamar Brown, linebacker that has come in. Quentin Cooley, we're going to talk to him in just a few moments. Xavier Gray, an offensive lineman. Nate Hampton, quarterback. Bentley Hanshaw has had some big catches for the Flames over the years. Colin Carhu made his name known for Flames fans against UMass last week. Quentin Reese has been Mr. Flame lately, and Caden Salter also being recognized along with Trayon Sibley and others. It is quite the group, and the Flames losing a lot of veteran presence after this year.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the production there. You've got Quentin Cooley, you're leading back the last 2 seasons. You mentioned Caden Salter, the Conference Player of the Year. Treyon Sibley has kind of been carrying the load as receiver. You're losing a lot of guys up front there, so that's a lot of talent that's carried this team the last 2 years. So certainly some holes to fill going into next year, I think.
Just think about the last 4 to 5 years of this program and who these seniors actually defeated. Very big-time games like BYU and Virginia Tech. They've experienced an incredible amount of success, and they've gone to 4 or 5 bowl games, which is incredible.
For those names on the list, do they actually get to enjoy senior day? Like, for you guys, was it a day that you had the feels, or is it kind of just a blur and then you think about it a few years later like, okay, that was a special day in hindsight?
And honestly, for me, a little bit before kickoff, you're in the locker room, your coach is saying, hey, this is the last time you're ever going to be with this group of guys on this field again. You do get in your feels a little bit, but then as soon as you step on that grass, you hear the crowd, the ball gets kicked off, it's go time. And then you play the game, and then after the fact, hopefully you win. There's still a little bit of sadness, though, thinking, man, that's my last time in Williams Stadium. So you're in your feels in the beginning, you battle for a bit, and then you're in your feels at the end.
Tell me about your senior day, DJ.
Yeah, leading up to it, I wasn't emotional or sentimental at all, because at the end of the season, you are beat up, you're dealing with injuries, and you are just going through the motions. But when you get to the game, it's actually pretty sentimental and emotional. Your parents are there, a lot of your old friends are there, and you know that for people like me who will never had the chance and the talent to play in the pros, that's the last time you'd ever be able to play in front of your home crowd. So it was sentimental to me, surprisingly.
Pat, anybody cry in the locker room on your senior day?
Besides myself?
You did.
I'm kidding.
Was Des Rice like sad to see you go, or?
No, Des was like, get this guy out of here. Yeah. Get rid of him. I don't think we had anyone cry. I will say I did cry after the game, but I'm a crier anyway. Ask my wife. Okay. That's how things are.
Yeah.
No, I did not cry.
No,
I haven't cried. I didn't start crying until I had a daughter.
Okay.
I know that's weird, but
no, that's fair.
Got emotional,
I feel that.
Girl dad stuff,
Baby
but
girl,
in college, no tears.
Okay, good to know. Well, obviously, again, a big game today. These two teams vying for a spot in the Conference USA title game. Western Kentucky needs some things to go their way. They need a win here today. That'd be big for them, pretty much locking them into it. Liberty, though, it's a steep road to climb in all truthfulness to get to that Conference USA championship game, and it's been odd for them lately. They've had some success against Middle Tennessee State. They looked really solid. Salter came out and looked like the Salter of last year, but then you go last week to UMass, and it's been really inconsistent game in and game out for this group.
You said the word right there, inconsistent. That's exactly what this unit has been. They'll come out, they'll have a game where they rush for 300 yards, and then they'll come out and they just can't seem to get anything going. The penalties have plagued this team, chunk plays, just kind of just lacking some accountability, I think. But yeah, they've been an inconsistent team all year.
Well, one guy that was consistent last week, Quentin Cooley, he is joining us now at field level. Quentin, I know this is a big game and it's senior day and whatnot. There's a lot of emotions, but talk to us about the locker room. How dialed in is your group for today?
We really dialed in. We know it's a big game. We know what's at stake. We know, like Coach always tells us, like it's like an elimination game. So we're coming in here looking at it like it's a playoff game. So everybody's ready to rock. Everybody's ready to roll.
Quentin, Pat Kelly here. You've had 2 games this season with less than 10 carries, but the last 3 weeks you've had 27 carries, 24 carries, and 20 carries. 3 of your highest rushing totals for the season. What is it about your game that you get stronger as the season goes on?
It's just me. It's my mentality. It doesn't really matter to me. All I want to do is ball. And it's just to the point where I feel like I'm the best player on the field, and I got to think that at all times. And don't let anybody get in my way. And don't anybody stop me from doing what I know what I can do.
Quentin, DJ here. I know that not only are you the leading rusher, you're one of the actual team leaders. How do you get your team up to start fast and to actually get ahead in the first half, as opposed to what's happened mostly all year and falling behind or being tied at halftime? How do you get those players up for today?
I'm just staying on top of everything, just telling our teammates, like, we know what type of team we are. We gotta, we know we gotta execute. We gotta come out real fast. We know we've been coming out real slow lately, but like, we got to look at it like we're doing the Flames quarter. We got to keep going. We got to go. We got to go. Like, the Flames quarter, we got to start the song in the beginning of the game. We can't just wait till the last second. And that's what kind of team we've been lately. We've been waiting till the last second instead of coming out with full force. So just be able to get them boys pumped and just tell them to come out full force. Like, we know what we can do, and today we're going to have to try to show that.
Well, Quentin, best of luck today. Thanks for the time, and have a great senior day.
All right, thank you.
That was Quentin Cooley, leading rusher for the Flames, 3 touchdowns last week. We mentioned Western Kentucky. They made things interesting last week in their game against LA Tech, and boy, it was a wild one. This one at Western Kentucky, you think they would have it all wrapped up. Not the case. Buck Buchanan would have a day. 3 field games. It would be 3-0 early off of his foot. Then Elijah Young would bring it in wide. Touchdown. Western Kentucky goes up 7-3. You start to think this offensive unit would be rolling. Hold on. Not so fast. That wasn't the case. Buck Buchanan said, friends, just hold on to this lead foot. He would go on to hit 3 more field goals. That would put them up 12-7. The defense would also stop Veltkamp, who's been a pretty good runner this year, and they would take it 12-7, which would open the door for the Liberty Flames. Now, their game against UMass, not quite the same distraction in terms of being a conference game. Their poor kicker, Lurie, for UMass misses, which would have been a winning field goal. They could have walked it off. Flames celebrating. We go to overtime. UMass would punch it in first, and then Lurie another chance. This is just for the extra point, and fellas, oh my goodness, the poor kid,
no.
doink.
You had one job.
Yeah. Exactly, actually. Right off the upright. You look at him here, just look at the reaction. The poor kid, it was a nightmare for him in overtime. Quentin Cooley would go on afterwards, his 3rd touchdown of the day, just driving through. The bowling ball would put the Flames at even, 34 all, and then Karhu would be a chance to be the hero right through the middle, and that would do it. The Flames would take it in overtime, and this is where we stand now in Conference USA play. We take a look at the standings, and it's a bottleneck up top. 4 teams vying for a chance to go to the Conference USA title game. You can see Liberty at 4-2. They are still very much alive. Now, obviously, a lot can change today. We'll see Western Kentucky, who they're facing today, Jacksonville State, and Sam Houston kicked off at noon today. So it's going to be a lot of fun stuff to watch. Let's take a look here at what you need to keep an eye on over the next really 8 days, truthfully. Today, we've mentioned those games. Friday, Liberty traveling to Texas, taking on Sam Houston. And then on the Saturday, Jacksonville State at Western Kentucky. There's so many scenarios on how all these teams can make their way to the conference championship game. The math is a little bit crazy, so we thought we'd bring in an expert. Emily Austin now joins us. I don't know if she's a mathematical expert, but she has more.
What more can you ask for in November? There's still plenty to play for in Conference USA. You guys mentioned the current standings and the upcoming schedule. It's so interesting that all 4 of these top teams will face off to wrap up the regular season and to determine who is playing in that CUSA championship game. So it took a little bit of homework, but here is the breakdown. For Liberty, it's simple. Win out and the Flames make it to the championship game for the 2nd straight season. Drop 1, they're out. For Jack State, win 1 of its last 2, the Gamecocks are in. If that's the case and Liberty wins out, there are your 2 teams in the championship game. For Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers need a win today and a Jack State win over Sam Houston. That would make it a Jack State-Western Kentucky title game. For Sam Houston, there is hope, but it's complicated, and the Bearcats basically need a miracle. Finally, if Liberty wins out and Jack State loses out, there will be 4 teams tied with a 6-2 record. There is a chance that Liberty can host the championship game. Obviously, like I said, the Flames must win out, and Jack State would have to lose their final 2 games. But in this scenario, Liberty would host Western Kentucky. Guys, it's a lot, and the only way to sort out this mess is to step on the gridiron and play. That's what it's all about. I know I'm excited about this roller coaster of a ride that's coming our way.
Emily getting a little fired up there for us.
I think Joe Yock's energy is rubbing off on Emily a little bit. I
got scared there for a second.
Yeah,
wow, didn't see that side of her.
Way too much time together. Well, the scenarios you saw on screen were the 4 most likely scenarios. There is actually 16 in total. If you want to read all through them, go to seaofred.com. ASOR, those guys did a great job of breaking it all down. Take a look there if you would like to. Time to get now to our Century Exterior scouting report. This is a Western Kentucky team that loves to air it out. The air raid is their game, Pat. They love to fly it through the air.
Yeah, they really do. They throw the ball about 32 times per game. They're terrific throwing the ball down the field. They average almost 270 passing yards per game. They're explosive as well. They're 5th in the country in pass plays of 50 yards or more. We'll talk about that again later. But they've got playmakers all across the board. They got 3 receivers that have 30 catches or more. It's a fun unit to watch. I really do enjoy this offense.
Yeah, Caden Veltkamp is really good, and we saw him kind of coming out with that bowl game last year against ODU when they were down 30 points and brought them back, 28 points and brought them all the way back. And unfortunately, there was the injury with TJ Finley, the starter, at the beginning of the year. But Veltkamp has stepped up. He's a big boy. He's 6'5", 6'6", and he can move as well. He's athletic.
Here's a look at the wide receivers you were talking about. Easton Messer, a little speedy guy, does well. Keyshawn Johnson, he's a big body. Watching him out here warming up, he's a guy that can be a physical wide receiver for you. And then when you look at Hutchinson, he has the highest grade out of all of them when it comes to PFF.
He scares me the most.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are all dynamic. They're explosive. And there's even guys not on the screen here that are going to make plays, I think, today. But again, anytime you've got 3 receivers on a team that have 30 catches or more, like you're spreading the ball around, it's tough to figure out who we're going to pinpoint, who you're going to stop.
Well, when you look at this team, and Pat, you've been talking a lot about throughout this year, and I've seen you on the Twitter. I follow you on there, the X, if you want to call it that. You talk about a lot of times you say the Flames secondary worries me against this. How big of a challenge is today's game for them?
It's the biggest challenge that they've had all year. In addition to some injuries, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit, missing some key players today in that secondary, it's a unit that's given up chunk plays all season. Even though the statistics technically say this team is 37th in the country in pass plays per game, they get penalized a lot. So in addition to chunk plays and the penalties that are hurting them getting the ball down the field, I think they're going to have the best game of the season if they're going to hang in this thing.
I agree, and Braylon Green is a player we're going to talk about as well. It's all about the scheme, and today it's going to be there. You got to put pressure as well on that, and that's what Louisiana Tech did. If you look at their game, they were able to disrupt him both with looks and also with pressures. I think they had 3 sacks on him. So hopefully Liberty can do that today.
In the last game, you heard Coach Chadwell say during halftime, like, we need more heart. Is there a heart issue at all, you think, in when it comes to the defensive side of the ball?
DJ, I don't know your thoughts on this. I think the answer is yes. I think they lack an alpha, just a dog out there that's going to, be willing to pin a guy up against the locker room and say, the way that you're performing is not acceptable. They don't have a guy, I don't think, that is doing that.
And I think that points to why they've been behind so many games this year. I think 5 of the 9 games they've either been behind or tied at halftime. And I think part of that is taking them a longer time to get going and to get in there. And normally you got a linebacker, you got somebody who can jack other players up, and I don't see it on this defense.
You just saw there Braylon Green and Corey Jones. Corey Jones has played the most defensive snaps on this team. Has he low-key been a quiet but solid member of the secondary?
I think he's done a decent job, but again, I think this unit collectively has struggled. And despite having some guys, juniors, seniors, you've got Oliver, Yates, Ricks, I think they've just struggled as, to gel as a complete unit. So that's the thing it concerns me for them today, because this is going to be the best passing unit they've seen all year.
You know what? I'm going to defend the defense just a little bit. They're actually pretty consistent to where they were last year. The only difference is that on offense, Liberty's offense was more explosive, had more explosive plays. They put up more points, and they were able to cover up some of the challenges on defense. Well, this year, it's not the same. They're playing Salter differently. He's not able to make as many explosive downfield pass plays, and so that's where you see this as a challenge.
Let me argue that point, though, a little bit, in the fact that Liberty this year, only 4 interceptions, last year 21 as a whole. Like, that's a massive difference.
That is a huge difference. You're exactly right.
All right, let's turn now and go inside the numbers, powered by Alcova Mortgage. We mentioned him just moments ago. Caden Veltkamp wasn't expected to be the starter this year, but it sure fell in his lap after an injury, and he has done quite well. A lot of people think could be Conference USA Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's explosive. 70% in terms of passing completions. He's got a terrific game. 6'6". He looks the part. His dad is the strength coach for this team, so he hits the weights. See those biceps. I think this guy, he makes the right decisions, right? He takes care of the football. He gets the ball to his playmakers, gets the ball out quickly, doesn't put the ball in harm's way, and the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, 19 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards in the air. He had a 5-touchdown game against Middle Tennessee State University. University. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. In college football today, they have that many touchdowns in one game, but they have a quick passing game as well. And so normally timing is important. Pre-snap reads are important, those things. So he's developing, he's maturing, and he's getting even better.
I think one of the most impressive aspects, he's a big guy, like we mentioned, 7 tutties on the ground.
Yeah.
Like he is able
athletic.
to run the ball, and he's not afraid to take a hit too.
No, and that's one thing Liberty is going to certainly have to account for. DJ, you mentioned it. I think he does a terrific job of the ball comes out of his hands quickly, and that has troubled Liberty the last 2 seasons. Last year, Vadiato from Middle Tennessee State got the ball out quick. Anytime they faced a team, whether they were in zone or man, when that ball came out quickly, they struggled to stop those offenses. So Veldkamp does a good job of that. Going to be really interesting to see how they defend him today.
That's right. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how many times Liberty's defense is going to blitz to try to put pressure on him to kind of disrupt him, because we saw a little bit of that with Louisiana Tech. If you get in his face, he might be able to get rattled. He's still a very young guy, so that could be a part of something that Liberty's defense is looking at doing today.
Yeah, a quarterback that continues to get better, and Coach Helton has been the benefactor of his play, and he is standing by currently with Emily Austin.
Coach Helton, under your leadership, Western Kentucky has never lost back-to-back games in the month of November. What makes you confident that this particular group has what it takes to bounce back?
Well, our guys are very competitive, and in November you need to be at your best, and we've always been at our best in November. And like the old saying goes, what you do in November, they remember. So we want to be remembered, and so if we want to do that, we need to win today.
Liberty has the they're fifth in the nation in rushing yards. What makes you concerned about this rushing attack, and what's the key to slowing it down?
Well, they're a very talented football team, and it starts with the running back and the O-lineman up front, and obviously the quarterback Salter is a special player. So we'll have our hands full defensively, but we're looking forward to the challenge. And then offensively, it's about points. We got to put points on the board and make big plays, and it's a 4-quarter game. You want to be in the last 5 minutes of the game trying to win it.
Should be an exciting one. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you very much,
guys.
Thank you, Emily. Coach Helton, given the task of getting this team back on track after a tough loss to Louisiana Tech, what do you think he said to the group after that game? Because that's one you lose at home. That's a tough one to swallow.
Honestly, I don't think you have to say much. You know kind of the state that your team's in. They're all furious. It's about getting back on the field, so I'm sure everyone was itching to get back on the practice field, and there's probably no team more excited to be playing a game again today than this Western Kentucky team.
And I think the team would even concede that last week was kind of a trap game. I think they probably were looking ahead. The season was going very well. Everything was moving along. But I like Tyson Helton. He's a really good coach. He has a lot of experience at the top Power 5 as well. He was at USC. He was at Tennessee also. So he'll get these boys ready to play. He's a good offensive mind. He was an offensive coordinator at several places. So they'll be ready to play.
Rumor has it some other teams like him as well. We'll have to see.
We'll see.
You're pitching for him there. Well, it's going to be quite the quarterback matchup today. We bring in now Matt Warner, Joe Yock up in the booth. Good to see you guys. It's been too long since we've had you here with us.
Boy, it is great to be here, Ray.
Yes.
Great to have DJ back as well. This is like throwback week.
Coach
Love it. Yeah,
Most
love
people
it.
don't know Coach Yock was my running back coach for 1 year.
That's my dog right there.
Joe, I wanted to ask you, best quarterback you played with during your time in football?
I would definitely have to say that it was Damon Allen, the brother of Marcus Allen, who went on to set, to this day, if you look at NFL, CFL, professional passing and rushing records as a quarterback, he's off the charts on all of them.
Yeah, I won some great cups with the Argos.
Yep,
I feel
that's
you.
right.
Attaboy.
All right, enough of the CFL talk. Let's get in. Let's get back to this matchup. You're talking about quarterbacks, Rhett. We want to talk about Caden Salter. It hasn't been the season that it was for him a year ago in terms of the numbers, and when we've seen really Liberty go and lean even more so into the run game here the past 4 or 5 ball games. But for the Flames to win these last 2 contests, get back to the CUSA championship, what does Salter have to show you these next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the Thanksgiving spirit right now, I think, you look at a guy like Quentin Cooley, he's your meat potatoes guy, right? But Salter's your pregame charcuterie board. Like
do you have those?
You got a little charcuterie. We got a little cheese out there. You got a little crackers. Okay. You got a little bit of everything. A little pepperoni. Yeah. The whole deal. And that's what Salter needs to do. He's to the point now where it's like, hey, I got to do 2 things. I don't care if it's pretty or not. I got to be able to take care of the football, 1, and the second is score points. I don't care how you do it, whether that's you scrambling, running the football, that's in the option game, sitting in the drop back passing, whatever it is, just I don't put a helmet on one of the cheerleaders and throw it to her. I don't care. Just figure out a way to get the ball in the end zone. That's what Caden Salter needs to do. It doesn't need to be pretty. Just do the job and score points.
I didn't know you were a charcuterie board kind of guy.
Well,
I didn't know
Rhett
you
loves
ran
a
in
good
those circles.
charcuterie board. I know that much because he likes that pre-game grazing. He's a grazer. He's a grazer.
Well, we will see today. I do know Salter has been especially dangerous with his legs, and he had success against this Western Kentucky team with his legs a year ago, Rhett.
Yeah, you know, Joe, I know he's full of hot air, but he's not wrong. Charcuterie board, oh, man.
For Thanksgiving?
I'll never turn
Who does that?
I don't care. Anytime's good time. Yeah, anytime.
No, not for Thanksgiving, bro. No.
Thanks, guys.
Maybe in Canada.
Yeah, maybe so. The big game for Salter, obviously, to kind of push the Flames in the right direction. Obviously, they need to win their next two. It's going to be big for him. They've turned really into a run-first kind of game here as of late, and you see recently with Salter, his last 4 to 5 games, he's approached the century mark on running yards.
That's right. He's a phenomenal athlete, and he can turn it on at any time. I am a little concerned about the passing game and how he's been able to mesh with this group of wide receivers. Of course, we've had some injuries as well at wide receiver Smith, so he's had a lot of different players there. But you got to be able to have the passing game to be able to score as well. We're averaging about 1.4 touchdowns per game this year. Last year, it was 2 passing touchdowns per game. That's the biggest difference, in my opinion, between last year and this year.
Yeah, Flames mentioned that they were underdogs. That's what Jamie Chadwell said. Said in all 3 facets of the game that Western Kentucky is playing better. So a tough task ahead for him. He is standing by with Emily Austin.
Coach, it's always important, but why is it crucial to come out of the gates hot against this talented Western Kentucky team?
Well, if you get behind versus a team like that, it's hard to catch up. And we need to make sure that we do get off to a great start, build some positive momentum, build some belief, and then let them play some catch up. Because typically they're the ones that you're trying to play catch up on, and they're very good in that position. So I think it's vital that we get off to a nice start today.
Caden Salter, I feel like he lives for these types of games. What was it in practice this week that makes you confident that him and this offense won't only find success, but find the end zone, which is very important too?
It is, yeah. He's done a really nice job the last few weeks as far as really just stepping up and putting all the outside noise away, and I think doing a really nice job of leading us as we've battled through some ups and downs, but had a really nice week of practice. I think we're going to have Lord willing, a full complement of wide receivers. So hopefully we'll have a chance to be in an explosive offense and get us in the end zone enough to win the game.
A lot to play for today, Coach. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Flames.
Thanks to Emily and Coach Chadwell. And you're nice to hear that the Flames are a little bit healthier at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, that would be great for Caden Salter because he really hasn't had it the whole year. And I think that has been something that's rattled him.
Yeah, I mean, they've been beat up, and it's tough to kind of get any type of continuity. Thankfully, the last 4 games are averaging 275 rushing yards per game, which is good for second in the country. So I don't think that they're going to have to lean on the passing game. And to be truthful, I don't think you want to lean on Caden Salter throwing the football to win you football games. He's proven in the past that he can do it. It's not what this team is built on. This team is built on running the football between the tackles, open some stuff on the outside. Lean on Caden running, lean on Quentin Cooley running.
Here's honest question. When you look at Salter and as a quarterback, a lot of ways, is he a run-first quarterback? Because his career percentage of throwing the ball is under 60. It's like in that 55 to 60 range, which is not amazing. It's not the worst it could be, but is he best when he is a quarterback that gets to run the football basically at free will to a degree?
I think he starts to heat up when he's running the football, but I think he's fine in the pocket. I think he's comfortable with navigating the pocket, stepping up, making throws. You didn't ask this, but I think he's been plagued this year by some receiver drops and just some, we've had kind of that, you've had kind of a recycling of receivers, right? So, you don't know who you're throwing to this week. So, I think when he's able to get involved in the running game, it does help him in the passing game, but I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a run-first quarterback.
To that point you just made, there was a stat that came out this week that Salter, I feel like it's second, but I know it's definitely top 5 in yards lost by drops this season to wide receiver. So
wow.
Excellent point there. All right, moving on. Western Kentucky, we mentioned the offense, explosive quarterback has been terrific this year. The defense, not just a pretty face either. This is a group that's been able to get it done over their last few games. 5 games, they've only allowed 17 points against, and they also created 8 turnovers. This group's pretty nasty.
No, I mean, they're absolutely stingy. Guys, listen to this. They've got 6 guys on their team with more than 2 sacks. They've got 7 guys with 1 interception or more. They've got 8 forced fumbles and 9 fumble recoveries. So this is a team that they swarm the ball. They're constantly there. It's something that Liberty's going to absolutely have to pay attention to today. You can't afford to give Western Kentucky extra possessions.
And their mindset is to get turnovers. What really shocked me is that this week Tyson Summers, the defensive coordinator, had a press conference, and he actually said of last game, it was our fault for not getting more takeaways and actually us scoring as well, which is incredible. That's the mindset that they have. And so you got everybody grabbing at the ball. They lead the conference in fumble recoveries, and second in points allowed in the entire conference, which is really impressive.
Yeah, interesting point. Against the Louisiana Tech, that was the first game in 4 games they had not created a turnover for themselves, and a big reason why they did lose that game. You mentioned a couple of guys there. Darius Thomas been terrific this year, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. Anthony Johnson Jr., we're going to touch on him more when we get to our Segra Impact players, but that man's a dog. He can get in the backfield and also pick you off. He's fun to watch.
Rhett, let me say one thing that's not presented on the screen here to pay attention to today. Western Kentucky's red zone defense, 3rd in the entire country in scoring in points allowed in the red zone, 66%. That's something that Liberty has struggled with a little bit this year as well. Really good red zone defense. Going to be curious to see how they perform today.
Do you find it interesting, though, that their 3rd down defense is not all that spectacular?
Yes and no, because of what we just alluded to, the takeaways. So, you know, this team has done a good job of getting takeaways. So, yeah, they've struggled on 3rd down sometimes to get off the field, but sometimes it doesn't matter because, you know, you could drive the length of the field, get a forced fumble, get an interception. So, and they've done a good job of that this year.
We need to be careful in looking at the statistics from Western Kentucky's season, because you're also talking about they played Alabama as their first game, got blown away, obviously.
63-0, yeah.
And then Boston College as well. So if you take those 2 games out, the statistics are even more impressive.
Yeah, Boston College, that was a tight one, only a 21-20.
Very competitive
for them. Yeah, they did exceptionally well in that one. I thought Hilltoppers were going to knock off Boston College in that game. Well, we mentioned Quentin Cooley, the run game being so key for Liberty, and the leading tackler actually on the Hilltoppers, a defensive tackle. Surprisingly, Hosea Wheeler, this guy, 55 tackles on the season, a true run stopper.
Yeah, the number that stands out to me the most is 300, and that would be that he weighs 300 pounds. He will plug the middle. I mean, this dude is an athlete.
I'm glad that impresses you.
6'3". I mean, had a strip sack against, you know, we just talked about Alabama. Had a strip sack against Bama early in the year. 55 tackles, 2 sacks. I think he could wreak some havoc today against the Flames.
And 2 block kicks. I don't know if you mentioned that as well. He's very athletic, and as you see him right there, he doesn't look like a 300-pounder, right? He's 6'3". He can move around. Your defensive tackle is very rarely your leading tackler, and that just speaks to how important he is to this defense today. I also like he's a very smart guy too. He's on the academic all conference team.
You know, guys, I just can't get that charcuterie board out of my mind.
Oh, Lord.
Thanksgiving and
there
whatnot. So, you know, before we go to break, favorite Thanksgiving food?
Oh, let me tell you. So, first of all, my girl, Ina Garden. I'm all things Ina Garden. Girl does a terrific job.
Who is that?
What? Get out. Get off. Leave now.
Is that HGTV or something?
Food Network.
Food Network.
I mean, this woman is a saint. But my go-to is her Chipotle smashed sweet potato casserole.
Okay.
I mean, you could bury me in that. That's my go-to. Shout out to Ina.
I got 2. My mom's macaroni and cheese is incredible. She puts a bunch of stuff in there that I don't even know, but it's amazing. and then sweet potato pie, of course.
Okay. I'm going to go. Can I go off the table a little bit here? I love rutabagas.
What?
I know. Turnips, rutabagas.
Isn't
love
that a
it.
car?
No,
that's a Winnebago. Okay.
Oh, yeah. But oh my goodness, she gets some turnips in there. It's good to go. One other thing I have a pet peeve with at sometimes Thanksgiving meals is when people bring like their homemade stuffing. Like, Stouffer's has done the trick, people. That you don't need to worry about that. Just get the box. They've mastered it. Throw in the water, the butter, and whatnot. That's all you need to do. Do you ever have that when people like put celery in it?
all I do is I show up at the table and I just dump food on my plate.
You're like, I gotcha. Okay, well, hey, thanks for tuning in so far today. So much more to come. We got Impact players coming up. Chris Vanini will join us once again as well with Emily Austin. And then also Emily bringing us a report on Military Appreciation Day here in Lynchburg.
Becoming a champion. It's more than one individual's journey. It's about those who came before you and those who will follow you. But most importantly, it's about the team beside you. The ones to mentor you, support you, and cheer you on in all your endeavors. These are the ones that make a champion. So no matter where you go and who you become, we all need a team like Liberty University.
After the final whistle has blown, join us for the Flames Central Game Day post-game show. We'll bring you the highlights, analyze the Impact players, break down the stats, and hear from the Flames. Don't miss out on the post-game analysis that only Flames Central Game Day can provide. Join the Flames Central Game Day post-game show only on the Liberty Flames social media. Flames Central Game Day. It's all about the Flames.
Virginia, just over 25 minutes until kickoff between the Hilltoppers and Flames. That game coming up on ESPN+. Well, hey, your game of the week coming up this week, November 30th. Lady Flames basketball taking on CNU. We had Carrie Green on earlier this year talking about this group. Lady Flames showing themselves to be a mid-major factor. Played some close games recently. A good one against Duke. Also another close one against Tennessee. Lady Flames looking solid so far this season. Well, hey, Chris Vanini is going to join us once again. He talks about the conference as a whole, how there's been a lot of parity this season, and how that's good for Conference USA.
Believe it or not, it's our final CUSA outlook of the season. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, but we've had the Athletics senior writer, Chris Vanini, to hold us down with all of the great coverage. Chris, great to see you. The Conference USA Championship game is coming down to the final 2 weeks of the season. Give me one reason why each of the top teams could or should take the title. Let's start with Jack State.
Yeah, it's a fun finish with 4 teams all in the mix, really, as we finish. And with Jacksonville State, I think this team is just on a roll right now. They've won 7 in a row after starting 0-3. They had to come back against FIU there, but they're really working in Rich Rodriguez's offense, and this is kind of what you expected and what you've seen from him ever since he's been the coach there. I think the momentum for Jacksonville State right now has been pretty hard to slow down, and they've got a pretty straightforward path at the moment.
Western Kentucky, Liberty's opponent here today. Why could the Hilltoppers be the conference champions?
I think it's still the offense, even though it did not do well against Louisiana Tech last week in a shocking loss, really. I still think Caleb Veldkamp, Ben Arbuckle, the offense coordinator, what they do on offense is still really strong, and I think maybe that was just kind of a 1 week off game, but I still think this team can score with the best of them.
I feel like La Tech just had it out to get someone because they almost got Jack State that week before. All right, let's move on to Liberty. Interesting season for the Flames.
Yeah, it's obviously not what I think a lot of Liberty fans saw coming in, but I still think this team has plenty of weapons. You've still got Quentin Cooley, Caden Salter, and a team that can put up a lot of points. The defense hasn't been as good. The offensive line's been not great, but I still think this team can score, and they're experienced. They've been in in this position before. They've been in big games, and they know what it takes to win them. And I think that's ultimately something you can't undervalue.
And last but not least, Sam Houston, your sleeper team. Why could the Bearcats be in the hunt for the conference crown?
I think it's the defense. It's been a very strong defense, one of the best defenses in the conference this year that has played out as the year has gone on. And with who they're finishing the season with, they're going to need that defense to step up and to step up and win them games.
It's wild that you could potentially have 4 teams in a 6-2, 4-way tie. That would be wild. Well, when you look at the conference as a whole, have you seen level improve in the CUSA, or is there still work to be done for this to be a legit conference?
I mean, a conference is usually kind of judged by what it has at the top, and Conference USA's perception was aided last year by the fact that Liberty was undefeated and got to go to the Fiesta Bowl. That's ultimately what a lot of people on the outside will see. But for the health of the conference, you need some more teams up there. Last year, it was pretty much Liberty and New Mexico State. Western Kentucky was not as good as people had been hoping for. But with Sam Houston stepping up, with Jacksonville State stepping up, a lot of these new additions, I mean, three of the 4 teams we just talked about just joined the conference last year or this year. So I think that's good. It's a sign that they're adding good programs to the conference, which I think is what you wanted. And so that's a good thing. And yeah, you want to have a good finish. You want to have some good teams playing a conference championship game, and we'll see what happens.
It'll be an exciting finish, to say the least. Okay, before we let you go, let's hand out some hardware. I'm making this up, but we're calling it the 2024 Chris Vanini Awards. Who wins the CUSA Offensive Player of the Year in your eyes?
I've got Trey Stewart, the Jacksonville State running back. He's been really, really good. One of the best running backs in the country outside of Ashton Genty and Caleb Johnson, really. He's been fantastic for them, a classic kind of big running game you see in a Rich Rodriguez offense, and he's been really good. And I think he's my Offensive Player of the Year in Conference USA.
Yeah, the Flames definitely felt his presence here in Lynchburg a couple weeks ago. All right, let's go on the defensive side.
Caleb Weaver, the cornerback at Sam Houston, again, that's a really good defense. He's kind of the leader of that defense. Has been getting looks from NFL people and such. Really solid player for them. And yeah, Caleb Weaver at Sam Houston, I think, Defensive Player of the Year.
All right, Chris, thank you so much again for incredible insight this entire season. Remember, you can follow him all year long at Chris Vanini on X. Chris, enjoy the remainder of the college football season, and thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I have to give Vanini credit on that one. Stewart, real deal running back. He has been tremendous this season.
It's impossible to kind of argue against that. I feel like Trey Stewart is the Quentin Cooley of this year. I mean, Cooley last year with the 16 touchdowns. Trey Stewart's approaching 20 touchdowns if he doesn't have it already, so I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, big body guy that can flat out fly. He's got some breakaway speed as well. He's been a lot of fun to watch.
It's like you, Rhett.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been described as that.
Breakaway speed? Yeah, I know you got it.
In rec ball, they used to call me Big Country. Remember Brian Reeves? Oh, yeah, played for the Vancouver Grizzlies. Rest of that team in peace. Yeah, that was what I was called. Yeah, good times. Good times. All right, time to get now to our Segra Impact players, and a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. We're going to start off with a running back, Elijah Young. While he doesn't get a ton of snaps, this is a pass-first offense. He is used in a variety of ways.
Yeah, we talk about the dynamic weapons that they have on offense. He's also their 3rd leading receiver with 30 catches on the season, so they find ways to get him the ball. You see there almost 600 rushing yards on the year, steady on the ground, 4.1 yards per carry. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that he's going to show up and he's going to do his work, right? He's probably not going to have a 200-yard game, but he's consistent, he's reliable.
And then we turn our attention now, Anthony Johnson Jr., defensive back for this group. He's a violent man. He can get into the backfield, also can pick you off. A lot of fun to watch, kind of a do-it-all DB for this team.
Yeah, he's a great athlete. Last year he had 4 interceptions. This year I think offenses are kind of watching where he is and staying away from him a little bit. He's got 2 INTs, but he has 6 pass breakups. He's athletic, and he really makes a lot of great plays down the field. Last year he was the famous Toastery Bowl defensive MVP, and so I actually think he could be playing on Sundays next year.
Keep talking about food. It's getting me hungry. All right, for the Flames, Juju Gray's been injured a large part of this season, but against Middle Tennessee, you started to see what he's capable of.
Nice little misdirection here. The reverse, he takes it in for a touchdown. Was really happy to see him get out there on the field. Again, a dynamic player, a guy that I think coming into the season, at least in my opinion, I thought was going to be the Aaron Bedgood of this team. Dealt with some injuries, but you just find ways to get him the ball. In the kicking game, getting him jet sweeps, getting him screens. You saw on the reverse there, a dynamic player. I'm excited to see what he does today.
Yeah, a lot of people say fastest guy on the team. We'll see if he's able to display that here today. On the defensive side for Liberty, Brylan Green, we mentioned him earlier. No picks on the season, but today would be the perfect day to get one.
That's right. He's a junior, 5'9", 180-pound safety. He as well has been recognized by the conference as being on the first team last year. 27 tackles. He's all over the place. He's part of the run game. He's part of the pass defense game as well. And we'll see what happens. He also is a punt returner. He has an electric ability to turn around a game and impact field position. He had a 45-yard punt return versus Campbell. He hasn't had one that big since, but he has that capability to impact the game on special teams as well.
I might say breathtaking. Many times when Brylan Green gets that ball back there on a punt return, I'm like, there he goes.
And Brett, the thing is, to your point, everyone can hear or see this win today. It's going to be really important on punt returns. I would not be surprised if one of these two teams muffs a punt because that wind is howling.
Yeah, it is zipping out here. Yeah, we'll touch on that more in just a few moments. For those of you watching on YouTube, if you're asking questions, I know I believe it's Tomahawk Tom likes Pat Kelly and his takes. Thank you, Tomahawk Tom, for shooting in.
That's probably his cousin.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
It's my brother, first of all. It's my brother.
No. But if you do have questions, feel free to throw some in there on the chat. If you're watching on X, maybe jump on over to YouTube real quick, throw a question in our way. We'll try to answer some of those coming up after the break. Well, hey, every sack is a sack to give back. This season, Food Lion Feeds will donate 1,000 meals to a neighbor in need for each Liberty sack this season. So far in the year, 17 sacks for the Flames, 103 yards lost, and leading the team this year in sacks, TJ Bush with 5.5.
Kicks it out, right wing Matheny for the win. Got it! 2.1 remaining. Second down and 9. Pocket throws it towards the end zone. It's 15 to the 25. Stretches pylon.
Everyone who's ever believed in me is a chance to shine. Embrace the vision. The roar of the crowd. Strike the stone.
This is my time. I'm on the rise. Can't hold me down. I'm too fly. This is my time. Ready to shine. Brighter than all of the lights. 'Cause when it's game time, seconds away.
Nope.
You don't have to play sports to enjoy them. Get tickets on the Liberty Flames app or at liberty.edu/tickets.
Tucked away in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Lynchburg, Virginia, you'll find us, Liberty University. Here, we pursue excellence in all of our academic endeavors, from anywhere. We fight for victory in our athletic programs and fan the flames with a mighty roar. We equip students with a Christ-centered perspective that changes lives. We are creators, problem solvers, and world changers. But above all of this, we are champions for Christ.
Toppers and Flames. This is Military Appreciation Week here on the mountain. The Flames focus on a group of men near and dear to the hearts of those from Central Virginia. With more, Emily Austin on the Bedford Boys.
Guys, I'm not sure about up there, but the wind is whipping down here on the field. But it's still going to be an exciting game ahead. The Flames are hosting Military Appreciation. And the Flames will also be wearing these helmets with an exclusive logo to honor the Bedford Boys. For those who aren't aware, the National D-Day Memorial is located in Bedford, Virginia, which is just down the street, about 20 miles from Liberty University. On June 6, 1944, in comparison with its wartime population, the small community of Bedford suffered the nation's highest known per capita D-Day loss. You can see with this logo how Liberty did its own variation of the memorial's 80th anniversary logo, which is a tribute to their theme, Every Story Lives On. Liberty head coach Jamie Chadwell has always been very vocal about his respect and appreciation for the military and all of those who have fought for our freedom. His dad served for 2 years. His grandpa was a 33-year Army veteran. So thank you for their service. I know that all of us would not be here covering or playing in this game today if it wasn't for those who sacrificed and have fought for our freedom. So with that being said, thank you to all of those military personnel. Guys, back up to you.
Great stuff, Emily. Absolutely terrific. Love the logo on the side of the helmet. And for those of you ever visiting Lynchburg for a football game, take the trip 30 minutes west to the D-Day Memorial. Absolutely a great place to go and very informative. It's a lot of fun. All right. Before we get into here our keys to the game, one thing that will be a factor is the wind. You touched on it. Punt game is going to be big. But when it comes to, we mentioned that they love to throw it. Western Kentucky, will the wind today, it is pretty snappy, affect them at all?
Well, they have a quick passing game where I think they'll probably try to lead with to start the game. I think when you're talking about passing down the field, that will definitely be a factor. But if you look at the run game of Liberty, I think that it makes it even more that important because both teams are going to be dealing with the elements, and a great run game really helps us.
DJ is exactly right. The vertical passing threats downfield where you're throwing the ball 20, 30, 40 yards down the field, that's when the wind can kind of step in. But Veldkamp's got a rocket for an arm. In that quick game where he's he's in his three-step drop and puts the ball on a guy, it's not going to impact too much. Where I really am concerned is the kicking game. Especially for Liberty. Yeah. We've seen kicks out of bounds this year. We've seen some inconsistencies. And don't be surprised if you see a muffed punt or something along those lines. That ball gets up there and hangs up in the wind and it's moving all over the place. It's tough to field those punts.
If you're a coach for Liberty or for whoever, it's okay to let the ball drop sometime. You got to know where you're on the field, especially if you think it's going to be closer to the sidelines. It's better to be safe, and I would not be surprised if we saw a lot of that today.
Yeah, that's a terrific point. All right, time to get now into our keys to the game. We'll start with Western Kentucky. Pat, as always, what's our theme this week?
Well, we've been talking food. We've been talking all things eating. So these are Thanksgiving themed, right? So the key number one today for Western Kentucky is going to be stuffing the run. The three losses that Western Kentucky has this year, they're allowing 218 rushing yards per game. In the last 3 games, Liberty's averaging 307 yards on the ground. So they've got to stuff the run so that they can get their offense back on the field, which leads to key number 2, and that is they've got to air fry this secondary.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
It's a dad joke, I know.
Creative,
solid.
Air fry this secondary. Western Kentucky is 5th in the country in pass plays of 50 yards or more this season. This is a secondary that's banged up. They're not going to have all their guys out there. They've struggled with chunk plays, so air fry the secondary. And then the final key that we got here, again, this speaks against everything that I believe in. No second helpings. What I mean by that is do not give this Liberty offense extra possessions. Take care of the football, and then Western Kentucky's probably going to be in a pretty good spot if they can do those 3 things.
Well, I feel kind of terrible because yours is creative, and mine, I start with number 1. The key to the game is something that we've said all season, is start fast. Liberty really has to be more explosive in the first half. They need to get a lead and learn how to play with the lead. Like I said before, Liberty has trailed or been tied 5 of the 9 games this year. And even though they came back against New Mexico State and UMass, they trailed in the 4th quarter of those games. You can't do that. When you're behind, you're going to play with more anxiety. You're going to play tight. There's so many young players. You need to get ahead in the first half. My second point, get pressure on Caden Veldkamp. Veldkamp is a really, really talented player, but we saw the playbook from Louisiana Tech last year, and they got him on the ground 3 times, and they had a lot of pressure with him. And so I looked for Liberty's defense to throw some blitzes, but also to try to confuse him in coverage here and there. And then my final Key to the game is limit penalties. The penalties and the turnovers have been a Achilles heel for Liberty. Liberty is the worst penalized team in the conference, even though they have only played 9 games compared to everyone else played 10 games. Guess who's the least penalized team in the conference? It's Western Kentucky. And so I'm going to be watching that very closely. You got to play discipline today.
Well, the hopes of the Liberty Flames to get to the Conference USA Championship game still on the line. Again, this game coming up on ESPN Plus, Western Kentucky and the Liberty Flames at 1 p.m. Matt Warner, Joe Yock with the call. We'll be back for halftime here and the post-game show. Make sure you tune in. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great game.